we go now. We'll do a little Mets here momentarily. There, of course, their games against Cincinnati. The Mets are, I love where the Mets are right now. I still think the Mets are the team to beat in the NL if they stay healthy with the top two pitchers. They have the two best pitchers in the National League, and if you get those two guys in a short series, you are in big trouble. I don't care if you're the Dodgers. That's me. And I also have Diaz, who has been the best closer in the sport. Now, he hasn't done it in the postseason ever, but he's the best closer in the sport this year. That is tough to handle, and they are very resourceful as far as their offense is concerned. Furthermore, this has nothing to do with Billy Eppler. We're going to talk to him in a little bit. I was shocked that the Mets tried a doubleheader here on Saturday with only a 6-hour time difference. I got a million calls yesterday on parking issues getting out of Citi Field. That's not for Billy Eppler. Here he is right now. He, of course, runs the Mets, and he says hello as he try to overcome my prediction. Billy, nice to chat. How are you today, pal? Okay?
I'm doing good. How are you doing, Chris?
All right, doing well. You got to be very happy where deGrom is right now. Let's start with him first, Billy. I mean, we know about Scherzer. You got to get the deGrom pitch count up a bit, but two very good starts to start the year. I'm sure you're going to pace him properly to have him organized come postseason. Give me some thoughts on Jason deGrom. Go ahead.
Yeah, Jake's been doing everything that we've asked. He's, kind of met every marker along the way here with all of his recovery. And so just really excited to have him back. It was a pretty electric environment on Sunday here. The crowd was into it. I mean, every single time he walked off the mound, I think I saw a standing ovation. So he's energized us. We're in August, and this is the time of year where the season you start to feel the length of the season a little bit. And so, putting him back in the fold, bringing Trevor May back into the fold, like that's been a very welcomed addition to a club. And we're just excited to have him.
And what is the pitch count scenario for deGrom? I mean, you need him healthy and raring to go in October and, give you 7 innings at least without any problems. Only 75 pitches the other day. Have you put a pitch count scenario organized for deGrom here this last, say, 6 weeks of the season, 8 weeks of the season? How about that?
I mean, there's a progression that we're following. Not exactly going to roll it out for everybody to see, but there's a progression that we're following to kind of build them up to maybe more of his accustomed level in years past. So he'll get there, but right now we'll take everything he's got, and it's obviously been impactful this far.
You feel very comfortable with your DH scenario right now with Vogelbach and, of course, Ruf. I mean, they're platooned at that spot. Should help your offense. Thoughts on that, Billy, as far as the deadline is concerned?
Yeah, being able to add those two bats, one to be able to really impact right-handed pitching, and then Darren to be able to impact the left-handed pitching. And then, Darren's ability also to play first base opens up the possibility, for Buck to get Pete maybe off of his feet for at least, the defensive side of the inning. So that's just another, formula or another avenue that he can go to put the best lineup together and rest guys as much as he can.
All right. Listen, I don't think that you're going to push envelope to catch L.A. I mean, I don't want to get too crazy with that right now. You got a long way to go. But I would think the Mets will be in pretty good position there, Billy, to get everything organized with your team and your personnel and your rotations and everything else, because you got a nice lead. If you got a nice lead in late September, then you're going to have 5 or 6 days off before a first-round series begins, getting the wild card out of the way. So you have a chance really to handle this roster properly before a 5-game divisional series begins. You're in that situation right now. Let me get your thoughts there.
Are you really expecting me to talk about this, Chris?
Yes.
Come on, man. Today's Tuesday. Today's Tuesday. Man. We're going to play Cincinnati today, and we're going to focus on today, and that's it. So we're gonna stay very, very granular and not get a little too far ahead of ourselves. So we got to play today. We got to put our best foot forward today, and and just be prepared for Mike Minor tonight.
You would agree, though, that you're going to make sure that Scherzer and deGrom are fresh, raring to go, games 1 and 2 of a postseason series, because you're going to make the playoffs. You can't sit there and tell me you're not going to do that.
I just want those guys to make their turns. Just make their turns every 5, every 6, whatever the schedule unfolds. make their turns. Bassett, Walker, Carrasco, the whole crew. Just have them keep making their turns and, let the rest take care of itself.
All right, let's do Trevor May, and let's do that little bridge between starter and closer. I see myself, if I'm looking at this as objectively as a scout, maybe that is a little window to do a little damage against, the Ottavinos of the world, and obviously, May, who has not been great as a Met. Maybe that 3 or 4 out scenario in a big game would worry me a little bit. Let me get your thoughts on that. Seth Lugo, let me get your thoughts on that. Go ahead.
Yeah, sure. That's fair. Now, I would actually argue with you that Trevor May has been very good as a Met because I can pull up his 2021 season, and that's a pretty darn good season. And so for me, with that group, us being able to kind of bridge that gap between our starting pitching and our, and the end there with Edwin, there's a number of combinations we can utilize there. And as we get further along into the season and the season starts to, run out of calendar, there could be more options. You could look at, we do expect Drew Smith to come back. You might be able to look at a Tyler McGill in that type of role. If you remember way back when we were, using, with a former club I was with, we were using Phil Hughes in that type of role. To kind of lead in there at the end. There is optionality here, and there's some really talented players here. You might be able to look at, even a David Peterson if it gets down, deeper into September. There's just going to be some options there for us to call on, and be able to do what we need to do for those middle innings to get the ball into Edwin's hands.
You got to love your offense, Billy. Puts the ball in play, don't hit a ton of home runs, moves the line, moves the lineup, passes the baton. You got to love where you are from an offensive perspective. How about that?
Yeah, I mean, there's really, I think it really personifies teamwork. Our lineup. There's a collective group, fighting against that starting pitcher or the reliever, whoever comes in. There is definitely a theme to what they're trying to do. And it's been really, really good to see. Just try to not give the opposing pitcher any easy innings, any easy at bats, and just, really work on draining his fuel tank and getting into that bullpen.
A lot of people thought the Mets might add a catcher before the deadline. Were you close?
I could just tell you that we've talked to everybody. So every team, I know there was some names kind of volleyed around, but I wouldn't say anything got particularly close, but that's kind of in the eye of the beholder of both clubs. But some conversations around a number of different positions, and we talked to every club, and ultimately, ended up with the club that we feel really good about moving forward.
As you should. You've done a heck of a job, Billy. Team's fun to watch. Heck of a year for you. Keep up the good work. Appreciate you coming on here today. Knock 'em dead.
All right. Appreciate it, Chris. See you down the road.